What moment made you realize, oh, that's why I'm single? I was bored one night, so I went out and bought some industrial-strength balloons. Came home and spent like 4 or 5 hours learning to make balloon animals. In the afterglow, surrounded by my little rubber friends, I wondered what the heck I'd just done. A little while back I saw a beautiful girl, just drop-dead gorgeous, and it suddenly hit me how much effort she'd put into it. The clothes, the makeup, the hair, not to mention the probable workouts and dieting, and I realized that if I wanted a girl like that, I had to put in the same effort. Since then, I've been intermittently single rather than completely single. Just this morning, I realized I've been washing my clothes with Cascade dish detergent for the past few months. Hanging out in the hot springs in Banff, in the deep end, and this very attractive woman sits near me. I strike up a conversation with her, and things are going pretty well. Then my youngest comes over to check in with me, then my third kid, then my second kid, then my oldest kid. I look over, and pretty lady was gone. Well, try being a single mom with a special needs kid. I might as well have flamethrowers instead of chesty bits and a double-headed Johnson. My job title on Facebook said Dragonborn for about 2.5 years. That might have been it. Finally alone with a cute girl I've been crushing on since orientation week of university. We're in the basement of a campus building, cleaning out a storage room for a student group. I'm desperately trying to make interesting conversation, and being the smooth ladies' man that I am, I bust out this line. So, do you think there are any security cameras down here? Catching my reflection in the TV after I'd dropped the spoon on the floor and had just started waggling my finger around in the Nutella jar to get the last bits out. Don't be too hard on yourself there. I think everyone's had that moment where they see a grotesque reflection of themselves eating food. I think for people in relationships, the thought is just usually more along the lines of, how am I in a relationship when they see these? On Valentine's Day, I photoshopped a picture of a date, the fruit, to look like it was on fire and posted it to Facebook, saying, "Got a hot date tonight." Huh! I sat down at my record player with all of my 45s and posted a picture on Facebook saying I was hanging with a bunch of singles. I feel like we should be friends. If we could somehow combine both of our puns into hot singles in your area, we'd be kings. Or idiots. I was on a date and had an itch on my chin, so I scratched it while talking to her, and it turned out to be one of those zits that just bleeds and bleeds. I usually have to show my newly acquired skills to someone. I can proudly put the following thing on my resume. Pretty good with a yo-yo. Can solve a Rubik's Cube. Can make balloon animals. Pen spinning. Can make the whole Q-tip disappear in my nose. Can almost swallow a whole hot dog without puking all over self. Oh my. I was at a bar once, after work, chatting up a gorgeous blonde. Things were going so absolutely swimmingly. I mean, joking, having fun, her literally grabbing my hand and putting it on her chest. It was late and we were drunk, and it was that kind of dive bar sort of place. And what happens next? Nosebleed. Fricking nosebleed out of nowhere. I'm not prone to them, I don't get them, but I did then. The last time I was at a bar with my buddy, I walked us over to 2 girls and just opened with, "What's the worst thing that's ever happened to you?" My buddy's head just dropped with a long sigh. A drunk woman came into a supermarket where I was working and tried to convince me to go out with her daughter, who was quite attractive. It then somehow came to her showing baby pictures she had of one of her other children, I think, and then I said, "That one's a bit young for me." Bam. The mother freaked out at my shockingly tasteless joke, and any chance I had with her daughter was gone. Just why I thought that joke would be a good one to make at that moment, I have no idea. Hey, you weren't the one drunkenly pimping out your kid at a supermarket. A nice girl, just after I graduated university, explained to me why I was single. In university, and shortly after, I would grow a little white boy afro and had these huge mutton chop sideburns. In university, it actually worked out for me when I grew it out. I'm at a small house party and see a girl I find attractive. I walk over to her and try striking up a conversation. She said, "You're not 20 anymore, grow up. You're not getting any girls like that." I cut the hair to corporate world appropriate levels, lost the mutton chops, and it turned out she was right. way more success after I did that. If you're out there, mystery party lady, thanks for that. I think the last time I approached a girl at the bar, I opened with, "What's your favorite dinosaur?" I was at a bar with a few girlfriends when a group of guys approached us to chat. They introduced themselves and shook our hands. One introduced himself to me and said, "Nice to meet you, I'm Mario." I couldn't help but respond with, "It's me, Mario," in a horrible Italian accent. In my defense, I was buzzed and he was wearing a bright pink polo with the collar popped, a huge white watch, and hair that was most definitely inspired by a cast member from the Jersey Shore. I figured maybe he'll have a sense of humor. He was not amused. A few weeks ago, I asked myself why I was single. I was on my lunch break from work, and there I was, sitting in my parked car, by myself, listening to weird 70s jazz. Oh. I made a Skyrim reference in conversation with a girl I was interested in. It took me a while to shrug it off. "If she's not into Skyrim, you need to look elsewhere." Happened to me too, except the guy then yelled into the bar very loudly, "Oh my god, you're a nerd!" He laughed and then started flirting with my friend. I no longer existed, so my sneak increased. I used to be a guy who tried to bring up his nerdy interests as pickup lines as well. Then I took an arrow to the knee. But in your defense, it's a high-risk, high-reward play. You might meet someone with the same interests as you. Married now, but this was my youth. I've got no game. None. And here's a couple of attempts I made at asking a girl out. Story 1, I was in my early 20s and had a buddy of mine staying with me. We went out for breakfast and this gorgeous woman was our waitress. She was maybe 19, perfect figure, hair down to the small of her back, absolute stunner, and in a low-maintenance kind of way. I wanted to ask her out, but I couldn't find the courage to do it. At one point, I literally got up, walked halfway over to her, then turned around and sat back down. My buddy is talking me up the whole time. "You can do this. She's waiting for you to ask. Look at her. She's just waiting for you. I've seen the girls you date. You can get her." Girls you date was one attractive ex-girlfriend, by the way. I chickened out. We went to the gym, where the whole time he's trying to embolden me. How could she resist these muscles? What muscles? She's still at work waiting for you. Surely she's disappointed you walked out without so much as a compliment. Back to my house, she's still waiting. This goes on for 4 hours. Finally, I decide to go back and ask for her number. I pull into the parking lot and my buddy waited in the car. I went inside and saw her being berated by her manager. She looked tired. Still attractive, but different now. I waited for her scolding to finish, then approached her. "Hi," I said. "My buddy and I were in here for breakfast and you were our waitress. I just wanted to tell you that I think you're gorgeous and I'd love to take you out for dinner this weekend." She blushed. "Ah, how sweet. Are you sure it was me?" "Of course," I told her. "No, really, are you sure it was me because I just started my shift like 5 minutes ago." Story number 2. Back when online chat rooms were a bit more popular, I had an online friend that I'd chat with occasionally when she was in the room. She told me she had a daughter who just started as a bartender in the same city I lived in. I thought it'd be cool to meet her and asked where she worked. Turns out it was in a bar right down the street. She described her daughter as about my age and looks like Gwen Stefani. I went to the restaurant a month or so later. No Gwen behind the bar, but lo and behold, my waitress was about my age and looked like Gwen Stefani. I had a couple of drinks and ordered some dinner. I chatted with my waitress for a bit and oh my god, I think she's flirting with me. She'd smile at me from across the room, check on my table every 5 minutes or so, and stay to talk for a bit. A couple more drinks in and I was getting a bit buzzed. Next time she came by, I asked how long she'd worked at the restaurant. She'd been there over a year. I replied, "Oh, I was talking to someone who mentioned their daughter worked here, and she described you. She said her daughter looks like Gwen Stefani, but was new here." This girl was flattered, I was doing great, but I was definitely buzzed and ready to mess the whole thing up. I thought to myself, I need to stop talking to her before I say something stupid. Then I did exactly that. I didn't just think about not talking to her, I said it. I literally said, "I've had a few drinks and need to stop talking to you before I say something stupid." She walked away and didn't say another word to me. My 29-year-old friend was getting a lot of pressure from his girlfriend to get his life together, so he decided that the fastest way to do that was join the army. I said to myself, and that's why I'm single. You can submit your own stories to be featured here on the channel. The story submission link is in the description below, And if you want to listen to some vibey music in the background, check out easymode, also linked below, and subscribe. Went to a party with an extremely hot girl who was completely into me. I stepped out to smoke and somehow started talking to the 65-year-old neighbor over the fence. Ended up getting drunk with him on the back porch talking about life and crap until about 3 a.m., and she had already left when I went back inside. Priorities confuse me sometimes. To finish the story though, after I noticed she had left, I convinced Bruce, the neighbor, to come inside and hang out as the party was still going. Ended up getting him to play beer pong, and man, he was a frickin' ringer. We ended up running the table for like 7 or 8 games. The best part was when we finally lost, we stepped out with a bunch of friends to smoke, and he was the one person everyone wanted to talk to. He was seriously now the most important man at the party. Right before he left, he kind of pulled me aside, gave me a great big hug and told me thank you for the best night he'd had in 20 years. I'll never forget you, Bruce. You're the frickin' man. I just stare at them and don't have the stones to start a conversation with them, minus the simple hello. I mean, you're one up on where the narrator used to be. Not that I think staring is a good thing, but I think the moment I realize someone is hot, I stare fixatedly anywhere but at them because I'm worried about being caught taking a perv. I don't really leave my room much. Excluding classes, I don't ever really feel the need to go out. I just play Steam games and hermit myself away. Who knows, maybe one day a boyfriend will fall out of the ceiling. One night I met up with an old college friend in Manhattan for some drinks. We met up with a couple of her friends later that night and headed to her studio apartment at around 2 a.m. We get to her place and I ask to use the restroom. Then one of her friends says, "God, my boyfriend is so cute." Not as cute as my name. Shush, he can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. I come out of the bathroom and immediately try not to make eye contact. I play with her chihuahua for 10 minutes while the Yankee game encore is playing on the TV. Her friend falls asleep on the couch and then she, my interest, looks at me. "Come over here and sleep for a bit." No, I can't. My car's parked at the street where I have to move it at 6 a.m. and that's in like a couple of hours. "Don't worry, I'll wake you up." No, I'll just stay awake. "You sure?" Yep. An hour passes by, I wake up her friend who's sleeping on the couch and give her a ride home. I get home at around 7 a.m. and think through my life choices over a J and a cold one. In short, I didn't want to get a parking violation. That's why I'm single. So you see, what I did was write a whole new scheduler which now runs multiple threads in parallel. What I do first is calculate the number of records read from the database in the last hour, divide by total records, and they always increase BT_dub to create number of threads. Then it loops through that many times and does that thread thing. I can positively say that I increased processing time by X times. That was my response to, "What do you do in your firm?" asked by a pretty girl in the bus whom I had a chance to chat with. I'm not a very smart person. I've sworn off dating till I'm employed and making a living wage again. In my current state, I wouldn't be a boyfriend. I'd be a burden. Not going back to the dating pool until I'm the kind of guy I wouldn't mind seeing my own hypothetical daughter date. Gather round, it's story time. This actually happened some time ago, still living at home with my parents. I was about 16 at the time. So my mum comes home one day and tells me she found a little purse someone apparently forgot at a department store. I still remember what it had in it. I took it, opened it. It had like $20 in it, some lip gloss, some school ID, and a piece of gum. Now, it wasn't much, but it was someone else's belongings and I wasn't about to keep them. Now, none of the things in her purse had any personal info other than her name. No phone number, no address, no nothing. So only thing I could come up with was to look up the school's name, call and ask if she was a student there. And so I did. I called, explained the situation to whoever was on the other end of the line, but lady on the phone told me she couldn't give me any info on her because it was against policy. That actually made sense, right? I mean, it would be kind of messed up for them to give me any information I wanted on her just because I knew her name and where she goes to school. So I told them I'd give them my contact information and asked them to locate that girl, tell them about the purse and give her my info in case she wanted it back. A couple of days went by before I got the call. She sounded appreciative and all. Turns out she lived pretty far away, but she had some sort of class near my house on Saturdays, and we agreed to meet at a McDonald's halfway between her class and my house. Saturday comes, I go to McD's and wait. I didn't wait long for her to show up, and when she did, she seemed really happy and thankful. She told me I could keep the money if I wanted to. All she really needed was the school ID card. I said no, of course. I told her that it was her money and that it didn't seem right for me to keep it for any reason. She thanked me again and said, she said, "Well, if you won't take my money, let me at least buy us some ice cream." I said no again. Again, I told her it would feel wrong to have her spend money on something I did just out of being a nice guy. I remember her sounding disappointed when she said, okay. So I said something to the effect of, "All right then, see ya." I turned around and walked home. Not long after starting to walk away, I replayed the scene in my mind and thought to myself, "You stupid, stupid motherfricker. I can't read clues to save my life," I realized that day. You poor, poor man. Still though, your stupid, stupid mother effer came from someone else making all the effort on you. Most of us say stupid, stupid motherfricker at ourselves after something we've done and got turned down for. So count yourself lucky. I'm too scared of rejection to make a move, and that's why I'm single. Besides low self-esteem and the slew of normal issues, it's things like the fact that I have Riverdance music on my MP3 player. I left my college library at night, and halfway down the hill, the girl who was walking in front of me turns around and starts just talking to me. She says she saw me in the library and asked to walk with her. Thinking nothing of what was happening, I walked with her and just talked about random crap. I got to my block and just said, "Nice to meet you," and bye. When I got to my door, I realized, God freaking damn it. I completely blank when girls look at me with that look and start flirting with me. I even had a couple of beers beforehand. Damn it, I'm so awkward. About 5 minutes after I've been talking to a girl, my reaction usually goes something like this. "That was nice," followed several seconds later by me reliving every potentially awkward thing I might have said and done. I'm a 22-year-old guy. I was at a bar one night and this gay guy came up and asked if he could buy me a drink. I politely declined and explained that I was batting for the other team, but it sparked this entire discussion that I was actually interested in having. I'm generally interested in exploring other people's perspectives on things. While we were standing there talking, a small blonde girl walked up to me and said, "Hey, I like your face," and I nodded at her and said, "Thanks, you too," and went right back to my conversation. The guy I was talking to stared at me completely flabbergasted and said something to the effect of, "Are you sure you're not gay? 'Cause you just crushed that poor girl." So basically, I'm completely oblivious to the world around me. Because I won't settle just to have a significant other. I'd rather be alone than with someone I'm not truly happy with. I'm in an engineering school. We can use this as an excuse? Great, now I can stop not trying so hard. I was PvPing with some people from my guild when a fairly hot guy texted me and asked if I wanted to see a movie or hang out. I didn't bother responding because we were neck and neck in the match and I didn't want the distraction. Okay, my sad answer is working on not being in love with my best friend. That one's actually going pretty well. But my fun one? A couple of years ago, I was out to dinner with some friends. There was a nice little group of us and they'd collectively decided to play the part of my wingman. Yep, I didn't just have one wingman, I had a frickin' squadron. Well, our server that night was a really cute waitress. Funny, quick, really doing a good job. My squadron had zeroed in. They were talking me up all night, complimenting her. It was to the point where all I had to do was say, "Hey, let's go out sometime." That's what I should have said. Sadly, that is not what I said. I didn't actually say anything so much as yelled, "Pretty women scare me!" At which point I put my head on the table and kicked myself. She was super embarrassed as well, both of us red-faced. The rest of the group took a second to process what happened, and then they just started laughing their butts off. If they weren't sitting in chairs, they'd have been rolling on the floor. It was one of the more memorable times when I had a, "Yep, that's why I'm single" moment. Apparently, telling a woman she looks tired is universally an insult. Whatever, I don't care, and you do look tired. Mine was when I laughed at my ex-girlfriend's tearful story of her mum's cancer scare. To be fair, she believed God had turned her mum's ovarian cancer into a baby. I tooted my dog awake last night as I was watching Olympics and Twitch plays Pokemon. It was a glorious 20-second butt trumpet followed by a full minute of deep belly laughing. Although I would routinely do the same around my ex and Dutch oven the bed. Well, I'm single because I'm terrible at picking up signs. I'm a good-looking and pretty muscular guy. I'm just awful at picking up hints. I'm not even awkward, too. There have been countless times I've messed up. One time I was in line at lunch. Cute girl walks up and starts to talk to me, asking what I'm doing. I tell her eating. I say nothing else and she walks away, saying he's getting food. I stand there like a statue. Cringe. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories, or if you want some vibey music to put on in the background, check out easymode. If you like Am I the Genius, give Am I the Jerk a shot. Everything linked in the description.